loose cable. Well, one for started out with my microphone wasn't plugged in. I set this thing. I had changed rooms and I didn't want to, but I'm so happy I did. They almost kicked me out because jealous people. Very jealous of my style, my good looks, and perfection. Who doesn't walk through life going, oh, I wish I was as sexy as him. So, anyway, like I was saying, here I'm watching some fraternity stuff going on. So, but anyway, this was like, wait a sec, 1913. Found the Moorish Science Temple of Newark, New Jersey in 1913. 16th Amendment gave Congress power to levy an income tax, be part of the Constitution in 1913. Oh my God, the Moorish Science Temple. I mean, that's just a coincidence, right? After that, after we got lots of wars and lots of war job and military-industrial complex, we got depressions. But we've had some good times too. We're the greatest, richest country in the world. Everywhere I go, I'm hated and spit on for being from the greatest, richest country in the world. And it's like, but everywhere I go, I just like bombing little brown babies, just blowing up little brown babies everywhere. And it's true. If it doesn't look like your family, it's an emotional thing. It's harder to like. It's easier to do it when it's like they're animals, but I have brown nieces and nephews and shit. So that whole we've darkened up. Have we gone to the equator and gotten out of our snowy like mountain fortresses? It's like it seems it's hell, but then you're like, oh my God, I'm burning up, and you're like, oh, we do. I know I tan because I'm not actually from this northern tundra. I tan. It's like I've just all my life is white. I'm like, well, I look pink in this light, and I'm like really dark tan. I'm really brown. I'm really brown when I'm out in the Middle East making under 130-degree suns fighting ISIS.
And Mr. Smith, I'm going to ask you to please step down and stand right next to Mr. Ware if you don't mind.
It's just good. This stuff's been going on. So that's the problem. We're all working. We can't sit around and watch our daytime, the real law court.
And her search to find her father. What?
This is, I'll tell you. I mean, this is TV. They sign these contracts. It's to be $1,000 or whatever, But it's also she doesn't make a decision, and they're legally. I don't know. I guess they have a chance to accept her ruling and go to a real court with real prisons.
I said, you know what? I'm pregnant.
I've never received that call, Your Honor.
Yes, you did.
Oh, me neighbor, Taylor, no, she, David, Montania.
I come from the military. I got a letter in the mail stating that I have to
well, they need that green card to get back in, Friggin' here's a baby. It's a legal citizen. Well, you don't want to take me. Take the baby to the United States to run orphanages. If the parents can't come back in because of problems, just send them to the orphanage and we'll figure out relatives. Like those babies getting in the United States to come to see the great Satan. Do you know how much people like? Oh, it's a great juxtaposition. While we're the worst people in the world, just murdering everybody and everything, yet our victims want to come live with us, and they want to live next door to us, and they want to be our friends. I just don't get it.
You don't. You say it just as plain.
Yes.
You know it's him.
Yes.
And you're positive.
Yes.
So when Mr. Ware talks about being there, rubbing his stomach, and all of that,
this is taking me away from productivity.
In a relationship with Mr. Ware, he was my.
I'm gonna end up watching this TV all day.
He did everything
Maybe he was beaten to death. That's not one I want to really watch right now. Que te perdón, Dios. Por favor, Dios. No. No, I'm... I don't know the word for forgiveness in Spanish, so I can't forgive in Spanish. Tengo mucho agrioso. Por favorito, necesito más coquino. Por favor, más coquino. Mi esposa piensa yo tanto. Porque ella necesita más coquina y gato. Por el reino. Por mi brujería en mi cardo de grino. Oh, dame un grino, Paco.
Necesito que tú me hables para hacer
¿Qué dice? Así, así. Dios mío, mi corazón.
Never been in before as a nation. And when you think about, well, the Supreme Court would have sorted it out, you have to ask yourself, but who would have enforced the rulings of the court? And if you have a president who's refusing
That's
to
what the
leave
law
the White
office
House, or
refers
who's
to.
saying he refuses to leave the White House,
They have their own law. Congress has their own
then
police force, or
anyone who
master at
stands
arms.
aside
It's
and
called the
says someone
Master
else
at Arms,
is
Representative Cheney. The Master at Arms will enforce it.
Putting the nation at risk, because it's clear that when you're at a moment that we faced, everyone's got to stand up and take responsibility, and I think that's.
I want to see Congress's tax records. They all want to see Trump's. I know Trump. Trump will show his. You fold, you call it. Hold on a second.
And you can see more of my interview with Congresswoman Cheney and many, many others in a brand new CNN special. It's called American Coup, the January 6th investigation that airs Sunday night at 9 Eastern, only here on CNN. The January 6th Select Committee is set to meet in person tomorrow to consider one of its most significant decisions yet, whether to formally request Donald Trump and former Vice President Mike Pence appear before the panel. Let's bring in CNN's Sarah Murray. And Sarah, this would be an extremely important testimony for the committee. Are either Trump or Pence expected to testify at the House?
You know, the committee members don't have high hopes that either of these gentlemen would actually show up and provide testimony. I think we would all love to see what would happen if Mike Pence was up there talking about the conversations he had with Donald Trump. But the committee doesn't actually think that that will happen. What they do, I think they really want to do is establish this and essentially show that they're and they can do this especially.
Well, I don't like you. I don't like you and what you're doing. You know, obviously you're probably gonna be hung. But at the same time, if you can just give me evidence to freaking burn Jody at the stake for being a witch, I'm willing to let you and Wiz walk. All I want to do is strap freaking Jody up and skin her, shave her head, and then set her on fire to send her to hell because she's a witch.
I think he is not going to say, I'm not going to consider it, but from my sources in Pence world, it's clear that this needle has not moved at all. That the committee's going to meet, they're going to talk about it. As Sarah's saying, they're going to want to do it for the historic record and say, because, how can you have an investigation and not even ask these two men to testify? They don't expect a positive answer, but at least they think they need to do it. And I think Pence world understands that. And I think the committee also
Biden speaks on a shot to cure cancer. One shot and will cure all your diseases. Whoa, one shot to cure all your diseases? Well, I guess I might as well leave the shit and take these clothes off and go live as a natural animal because, in my from my lived experience and my cultural history, you don't get sick, and when your mind is balanced and with all these problems, you get less sick. You take my blood right now, they'll find 5 different cancers because cancers are just cells. They're just cells that are burnt or defective and they're being flushed out of the body, and your body's constantly healing itself, you know? You need rest or so, but apparently you'll get a shot and stay on the assembly line. See, they need bigger quarter profits.
And Gloria, the FBI
They need the record profits.
Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate has significantly changed the political landscape, I have to say, from when the committee held its last hearing in July. Now we have the FBI raiding Donald Trump's home, searching for the home for these classified documents. Do you think that will make a difference in the committee's thinking as they decide whether or not to refer?
Yeah, I was talking to somebody familiar with the committee's thinking on this, and that's why they're meeting, because they have to figure out
But what classification designations are from the trainings that contractors have to take? But apparently, Congress doesn't have to take any kind of training on how to on the levels of classification. What open source, how open source collated from news can be compiled into a secret document. But if it's that's the thing. That's where the intel analysts they get it from news sources. They get it and they, based on everything you see, and make a document of it. It's all open source. Like her testimony, that can be classified. Actually, this entire thing can be wiped and sealed for classification.
So the Justice Department doesn't,
because her words can be used against her, and then her lawyers will say, "Oh well, that got out," so we're gonna have to secure these videotapes and all the background and the conversations that occur when the cameras are off. See, it's really interesting what these microphones are picking up when they turn the cameras off. That is like when the AMC flight crashed. Man, the special forces, they were adamant on taking every single hard drive, that had images of it. So, special forces, where are they at now? Oh yeah, they're in Gitmo. Because they're not patriotic enough to the fucking her. They don't understand. They're just they have little unuseful dicks.
They also have to figure out what they're going to do about these Republican lawmakers that they've sought testimony from, people like Kevin McCarthy, people like Jim Jordan, Scott Perry, people who, again, are resisting appearing before the committee. So they're trying to figure out how to sort that out, Jim.
It does.
But they're in Congress. Just talk to them in the hallway.
Are reluctant to tell the truth to the committee. Sarah Marie, Gloria Borger, thanks so much. We're waiting to hear directly from President Biden talking about his cancer moonshot initiative. We'll bring that to you as soon as he steps to the podium. Also had Ukrainians planting their flags and recapturing territory taken by Russians and doing so in just a matter of days. Is this a temporary win, or might this have a lasting effect on pushing back the Kremlin for good? Stay with us.
Well, just don't bring in the boat people, and they won't have to go through and slaughter all the fucking criminals making cross-border raids. Don't let your city be used as a base of operation to attack your neighbors, because we'll slaughter you all like Troy.
It's a cat. It's an old cat.
Huh.
It's an old cat bat.
Some things need guessing, but not MailChimp. MailChimp takes the guesswork out of email marketing.
Oh man, they had that cat owl.
Billions of emails we send.
I missed it.
Offer personalized suggestions for how to improve engagement and revenue. Guess less and sell more with the #1 email marketing and automation platform. Intuit MailChimp. Like many families, the Auburns value time spent together to share wisdom.
I got some of my gold before I came to this country.
I got some of my gold before you passed the bread.
Encourage one another.
I can buy gold for this. You can buy gold for this.
And talk about life's wins and misses.
Responsibly sourced, like my gold, but not responsibly cooked.
Because at the end of the day, nothing keeps it all together quite like gold. Visit invest.gold to see why gold is everyone's asset.
We lost about everything trying to pay for
Gotta practice it. Sometimes I want to get better at TikTok videos. They're fun,
So my husband just stopped taking his medicine, and then he had a stroke.
But the thing is, with all these social media, people jump in social media. Like they only had like somebody, so nobody reads my blog. It's like, how many people can you read a blog? There's so much stuff I just picked up in a newspaper. We'd like to check in on every once in a while, but you know what? If the thing that interests me in the blog, if I'm not interested in that anymore, like how to do taxes,
we found her.
I'm gonna pay the tax. I have 3 years because legally, when you have a certain income that rolls over through quarters, there are ways to do like 3 years at a time, a lot of other ways. So I'm like 4 months behind on this my current taxes. They probably want to audit me because I didn't put down that I had Bitcoin on my previous taxes, but they didn't really have any instructions. They're trying to figure out how to take everything. That's why the federal income tax was created during World War One or before World War One. They're like, we need to fund this emergency. It's a world war. We gotta fund this 1%. And here we are, 100 years later, and it's like, oh God, give us more. We need to build more bombs. Bomb, and get and freedom. Freedom. We need to bring our democracy to the world. The world doesn't want your democracy because obviously, the way the Democrats are they decided to just kill Republicans. Well, no, they just want them to go to the committee and be, they just want them to go to a committee and be.
But none of them are about his portfolio.
Educated.
So impressive, your money never stops working for you. Merrill, a Bank of America company. What would you like the power to do?
Right now, Ambassador Caroline Kennedy is introducing President Biden at that event in Boston. President Biden is set to address his Cancer Moonshot initiative aimed at reducing the number of deaths from cancer, cutting it in half over the next 25 years. Let's listen in.
We're sure even that a moon landing on the surface of the moon was possible. But President Kennedy understood the power of the idea, and over time, along with his inaugural address, his call to service, the moonshot speech has become perhaps his best-known legacy. The vision, the purpose, the courage it embodied has inspired each generation to take on hard challenges and provides a metaphor to guide us as we face adversity in our own lives. My father believed that the effort to land on the moon would bring out the best in America, that everyone would contribute, that it would require invention, creativity, teamwork, commitment, and faith, and that the world would be different because of it. He didn't live to see it, but he set in motion an age of discovery and invention, of earth science and space exploration that has made America his friend, his vision. It's up to each of us to set an example, to do hard things when we don't think we can, to believe in others when they take risks, to support them when it's tough, and never forget that together we can achieve great things. No one embodies that spirit more than President Joe Biden. He's lived President Kennedy's call to service throughout his life and career. As president,
he admitted to having the most sophisticated friggin' voter fraud in his history, and he laughed about it.
For more than 50 years,
It's on tape. We have the most sophisticated. I'm not worried about election or campaign. We have the most sophisticated voting fraud in history.
And always
said it live because he's one of us. I think he needs to be saved. Who wants to go save John's dad? Come on, Mr. Wolfram, we're coming for you, John Senior.
As we know it, and with characteristic perseverance. He's still committed.
I don't know how John can have such a grudge against whatever his memories are when he's so perfectly fine with having his friends' wives raped and murdered and shit. So he has a higher standard for his own family members than he has for freaking death row inmates.
And I want to remember them today. Having felt the grief that comes with such loss, I've often looked to President Biden's life for inspiration. His courage and compassion, his endless empathy and abiding faith, and his confidence that we can overcome this challenge have lifted our hearts. His personal commitment and the national goal he sets today will save lives, change our country, and heal the world. I'm honored to serve in his administration and to introduce him now.
Thank you, Madam Ambassador. Thank you. Thank you. Madam Ambassador Caroline, thank you for that introduction and for your enduring friendship. I was talking earlier about how your family had a very difficult time in my life. When I first got to the Senate as a 29-year-old kid, before I was sworn in, I lost my wife and my daughter, and my two boys were so badly injured when struck by the tractor trailer. And your family was there for me. No, I really mean it. Your family was there for me. You may remember some of it, and I'll never forget it. They got me and my boys through an awful lot. I'm truly honored to be with you all, and your incredible family. And Jack, I believe your generation is the best educated, most talented generation in our history. And that's the reason I'm so optimistic about the future.
I mean, is he talking about the self-educated ones that he can sell? Yeah. I guess, I don't know. We'll see. There's more. There's so much more. It's like, no, I'm not.
And thank you to Health and Human Services Secretary Becerra.
You can't hear what I'm saying. I have to turn that off. Or what he's saying.
And thank you to the members of the Massachusetts delegation from the House, Representatives Presley, Lynch, Keating, and Jake, I should say, Claus, and Laurie, thank you as well for being here. You have beautiful daughters. They're great kids. And I want to thank all of you, the cancer patients, survivors, caregivers, and don't jump from up there, okay? And for all the leaders of science and medicine for being here today. This is a powerful place for reflection and remembrance. On this day in 1962, America was facing an inflection point. One of those times that changes everything, from the day before to the day after. The shadow of world wars cast over a Cold War. The march on civil rights, urgent yet uncertain. And against all of that and more, America faced a choice: to move forward or to move backwards, to build the future or obsess about the past, to be a nation of unity and hope and optimism, or a nation of division, violence, and hatred. At this inflection point, President Kennedy made a choice for the nation, thank God. On this day, in 1962 at Rice University in Houston, he spoke about America's possibilities. I was asked by Xi Jinping, who I met with more than any other world leader.
New software I downloaded yesterday.
He turned to me and he said, "Can you define America for me?" And I said yes, and I was sincere. I said one word: possibilities. In America, we believe anything is possible. I mean it. And in choosing to go to the moon, President Kennedy said America was doing so, quote, not because it was easy, but because it was hard. Because the goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energy and skills, because that challenge is one that we are willing to accept. One we're willing, not one we are unwilling to postpone, and one which we intend to win. Unwilling to postpone. President Kennedy, unwilling to postpone. President Kennedy set a goal to win the space race against Russia and advance science and technology for all humanity. And when he set that goal, he established a national purpose that could rally the American people in a common cause. And he succeeded. Now, in our time, on the 60th anniversary of his clarion call, we face another inflection point. And together, we can choose to move forward with unity, hope, and optimism. I believe we can usher in the same unwillingness to postpone, the same national purpose that will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills, to end cancer as we know it, and even cure cancers once and for all. Give you my word as a Biden, this cancer moonshot is one of the reasons why I ran for president. It's part of my unity agenda that I laid out in my State of the Union address to rally the American people to work together. Because we know this: Cancer does not discriminate red and blue. It doesn't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. Beating cancer is something we can do together, and that's why I'm here today. We've made enormous progress in the past 50 years since President Nixon signed the National Cancer Act to declare a war on cancer. We learned cancer is not a single disease, but there are over 200 different types of cancers caused by different genetic mutations in our cells. We discovered new medicines, therapies, early detection and prevention measures to extend and to save lives. In the first 25 years since the National Cancer Act, the death rate from cancer largely remained unchanged. Then things began to change. With progress over the last 25 years, the death rate from cancer has fallen more than 25%. But despite the progress of life's extended, lives saved, cancer is still the #2 cause of death in America, second only to heart disease. For too many cancer patients and their families, instead of hope, there's bewilderment. The feeling of being on your own. Frustration, as hospitals said, doctors can't easily share your medical records with other hospitals and doctors to help find answers, even when every minute counts. Having to advocate for even the most basic care and attention for your loved ones. The flood of information is a completely different language, with few people available to help you decipher it. Having therapy that can work within reach, but is too expensive or insurance won't cover it. And so when President Obama asked me to launch a cancer moonshot, our goal was to bring an added urgency, a new urgency to the fight. And in my view, not unlike President Kennedy did, we harness federal resources to change the culture, increase cooperation, and break down the silos that exist. That included everything from making published results of federally funded cancer research more available to any patient, to any doctor, for free, instead of the firewall that had been set up. That included recognition that for many cancer patients, it's hard to even know if there's a clinical trial that can help them, let alone how to enroll in one. So we launched trials.cancer.gov so everyone can find a clinical trial near them or across the country and the world, and they can gain access to these trials. I've traveled the country, brought together leaders in healthcare, technology, education, business, philanthropy. I visited many of the major cancer research centers in the world, and nowhere, no matter where I was or what the topic at hand, world leaders wanted to talk to me about our cancer moonshot. That's not hyperbole, that's a fact. For example, Pope Francis convened a major international conference on cell therapies at the Vatican and invited me to speak about our mission. One of the final pieces of legislation President Obama signed into law was the bipartisan 21st Century Cures Act. To streamline the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, by creating an oncology center of excellence so new cancer treatments can be evaluated faster. It provided 7 years of new funding, including research on cancer therapy.
Let's get these government invented shit out.
Trial networks to discover new drugs.
I'm gonna buy a Yugo today. One of the greatest communist inventions of all time.
Senate, I presided over the overwhelming bipartisan vote and watched my friend Mitch McConnell name the cancer provisions in that bill after my son Bo, who had lost his life to that disease just months earlier.
When did Bo die again?
Jill and I knew we had to keep going through, keep it up. So we initiated the Biden Cancer Mission. We focused on turning the moonshot into a movement, not just a shot, a movement.
That was early this week, okay.
Research and care system that most people think we already
Biden
have.
He died May 30th, 2015. My God, he died like, whoa, he died on. Oh my God.
While we spare, the stories began to change with real hope. Not because of me or Jill, because of all and so many of you at home. Doctors, researchers, advocates, caregivers, patients, survivors. And that's when I was elected president. I determined to supercharge the cancer moonshot in the Biden-Harris administration. I laid out our plan that is bold, ambitious, and I might add, completely doable. The goal is to cut cancer death rates by at least 50%, in the next 25 years. Turn more cancers from death sentences into chronic diseases people can live with. Create more supportive experience for patients and families. Update our fight against the cancer. It's a disease we often diagnose too late and have too few ways to prevent it in the first place. Where there are stark inequities based on race, disability, zip code, sexual orientation, gender identity, and other factors. We know too little about why treatments work for some patients, but the same patient, a different patient with the same disease, it doesn't work for. We still lack strategies for developing treatments for some cancers, like childhood cancers. We don't do enough to help patients and families navigate the cancer care system. We don't learn enough from their experience as patients. We don't share enough data